Hello there, it's Danny from the Football Fan Show. Let's go through our Premier League predictions with the new season starting on the 14th of August. Who do we think is going to finish in the top four, and who's going down to the Championship? Liam Barry's one of our pundits. He's going to come along and give us Premier League predictions. Now, Liam, I want you to do your best to predict the top four, so the Champions League places to I want you to guess how many points. No. Just where they. Yeah. How many points they're going to get? What's their goal difference? How many games they're going to win? I can help you out. They'll play 38 games. There you go.
I would find that I couldn't even hazard a guess at that. It'd be too difficult because I think I said to you when I messaged you the other day, like at the moment, I'm looking at the league and it feels like I think my words are. I think it feels like everything's changed, but also nothing has changed. So I feel like this is going to be a bit of a crazy year, I think.
So you don't have to predict the amount of points they'll get or the goal difference, but the top four and who's going down to the Championship, which I think is more interesting this year because I think it's a lot harder to predict this year in terms of who's going down. But where do you want to start, with relegation or promotion? It's your choice. It's your video.
Let's go relegation. Let's go relegation.
Would you like me to remind you of who's come up from the Championship?
No, so I've got it here. I've got it here just in front of me.
Well prepared. All right.
So, yeah. I think that I don't necessarily know which order they'll be, but I think the three going down this year.
I was just going to say, I should just remind people, for people that are actually watching, of course, the teams that were promoted were Norwich, who won the league, Watford, who finished second, and then Brentford won the playoffs. Sorry, Liam, go ahead.
No, that's fine, mate. Yeah, so I think just looking at it here, I know, traditionally your promoted teams tend to kind of, you expect them to struggle. But I suppose in recent years as well, you've had teams like Leeds and Villa and Wolves and that have all come up and actually done sort of quite well. I say Villa, they literally just about managed to survive the first season up, but they still stayed up. But I think this year, so as much as I want him to do well, I do wonder if I do think Palace might struggle this year. Not for any other reason. I think that, they lost 13 players and a manager at the end of last season. It's a massive rebuilding job that Vieira's got there. And I wonder you think about when Fulham came up, not last season, but the season, the time before, where there was like wholesale changes, and there was so many changes that it felt like they didn't gel at all, and it was really kind of detrimental for them, and they ended up going straight down. So I think that having that many changes in the squad, I feel like that might be maybe a little bit much for him. So I think, and I don't want that to happen because I want Vieira to do well. And also I quite like Palace, but yeah, I think Palace are going to be in there. Norwich, I think for me, they've lost Buendia. It's potential that they'll lose Cantwell as well. They're that club, really, aren't they? They're not really around they're here for a good time, not a long time. So I'm not expecting them to sort of stay up again. But hopefully Daniel Farke lasts the season. I love his interviews. His voice alone is worth it. So if they can get a few results, but I just don't see how they're going to have enough to stay up. So that's two, and the third one, I'm a bit torn here between Newcastle, who I know they finished 13th last season, so it's kind of didn't do too badly, but I know they just just signing Willock, or just signed Willock from Arsenal, so that's sort of good for them. But I mean, yeah, he had a great finish to his time there, but he was coming off the bench a lot, so it wasn't like he was sort of really kind of leading the team forward and driving them forward and stuff, and being influential throughout all of the games. So I do wonder there. I think because again, like Bruce, but I just don't think they're not investing a lot, because Ashley doesn't want to. He wants to sell the club, and there's just so many issues with their squad. Their defense isn't great. Not got a lot in the midfield. I don't really, outside Sam Maximan and Callum Wilson, and now Willock. I mean, there's not a lot there in the side. I mean, I don't. What is Almiron? What is he, Dan?
Almiron, I don't know, no idea.
I don't understand. Like, there's times you think, oh, he looks all right, but then there's other times I look at him and I think, I don't know. I don't know what I don't know what he adds. I don't know what he does. He doesn't take hold of the midfield at all. He doesn't really create much. He doesn't score many goals. So I think Newcastle might struggle this year, because I think poor old Bruce, he only kind of has so much of a lifespan at a club, and I think this is probably going to be the end of it for him. So it's either going to be Newcastle, and I think this will depend on if Nuno does a bit of a raid there and how things go, but potentially Wolves. New
manager, Bruno Lage.
Yeah. I'm not going to pretend that I know anything about him, to be honest. But the fact that I couldn't tell you much about him off the top of my head says to me that he's not, he's not been kind of at all like,
Well, he's mostly been an assistant manager for his career. He was assistant manager at Sheffield Wednesday. He's been assistant manager at Swansea. He's Benfica's B team manager, and then he was Benfica manager between 2019 and 2020.
So he was Benfica manager before they brought what's his face back for the last season, and they fell out. They bombed out of the Champions League straight away. So he's been at a massive club in Benfica. Fair play to that, but he's not. It's not been He's been successful in Portugal, and then done well in Europe or whatever, and then a bigger club in over here, or someone else has snapped him up. So I don't know. It doesn't.
Do you think
it feels like he's just another George Mendes? He's one of George Mendes' guys that he's whacked in there. And
going down to the Championship, we've got Crystal Palace, Norwich, Newcastle. Is that in that order? So Palace bottom, Norwich, then Newcastle. Or do you want to order them, or do you just want to keep it vague and say those three?
No, do you know what? Damn it, Dan! I'm going to order them. I'm going to go with Norwich bottom, Newcastle second from bottom, and then I think they'll just fall in there because it's too much for them, and that'll be Palace.
So it'll be Norwich 20th, Newcastle 19th. I mean, oh wow, Newcastle are having a really bad season if they're finishing 19th.
Yeah.
And then Palace in 18th.
Do you know what though? I didn't really think too much about them, and I know that and they'll probably be fine, but I wouldn't mind Burnley going down.
Oh no, you got to keep Sean Dyche in there.
No way.
I liked his pre-season conference where he's chatting to where the media are there, and he just picks up his phone and goes, "Yeah. Oh, great, he signed. Great, fantastic, fine. That's Lionel Messi signed for Burnley. He's a real fan. I just love that. I just love that stuff."
I could do without him, if I'm honest. For me, he's Allardyce light.
Yeah, but that's all right. That's all right. I like some of the banterish stuff.
If I had the choice, if someone came to you now and said, right, who would you just relegate? Don't matter how their season goes, who would you just relegate? It would be Burnley. Not because I just like Burnley the club, because I can't stand Sean Dyche.
Fair enough. And then he goes, and then Sam Allardyce comes in with a Greg sausage roll.
Yeah, pulls off he just pulls off the Mission Impossible mask. with that
It was,
massive, like, just laughing. It was me all along. Out tactic you.
yeah. So you're also, what you're saying with your three teams that are being relegated is that Watford and Brentford survive. The playoff winners and the team that finished second in the championship survive over the champions of the championship.
Yeah, because I want Brentford to stay up because it's something new.
But will they
Something
though?
new. Yeah, why not? League, if you think about it, the type of football they play good football. I think they'll adjust to the league quite well. I'm, I mean, they obviously they don't play the same way as Leeds. Leeds were fantastic when they came up last season, but I think they play good football, and they don't seem to be like a Fulham who kind of play like nice football, but they're all very nice, and they don't want to upset anybody, so they come up, they have a little game in the Premier League, and then they just humbly go back down to the Championship. I think Brentford have been building something for a really long time, and it feels like they were so close to getting up. Now they've come up, and I think I think I saw they just signed someone I've never heard of, but it'd be part of their Moneyball kind of strategy in that all their stats based signings and things. And I think they're shrewd, and I'd like to see Ivan Toney bag a few and stuff as well, and keep them up. I like the kind of the romance of it.
Well,
so based on all those things that aren't really tangible, that's what I think.
I was going to say. Well, they say love is blind, so there you go.
Yeah.
Who's making your top four and why?
Right. Obviously, this is not the question you've asked, but I can tell you straight away it is not going to be Arsenal, and I'm going to be sad about that all season. And by just admitting that now means that I'm not kind of prolonging the pain for myself and having that hope. So straight away I'm ruling Arsenal out. But I think
if Arsenal, sorry to interrupt you, I just want to ask if Arsenal have a bad start, Arteta out?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of trust the project, trust the process, and I get that if you're seeing incremental improvements, but I don't necessarily think that I am seeing that. I'm seeing what you are seeing a lot of is, and to be fair, this isn't necessarily Arteta's fault, but a lot of mismanagement really by the club in general. If you look at contract situations and things like that, and I know when we spoke at this time last year about the Williams signing, I was like, do you know what? I'm kind of okay with it. I think it might be all right for us, and I was massively wrong. So all these predictions are going to be hugely wrong today based on most things I say about football. But he could. I think he could definitely go if it's not going the right way, especially if we do end up spending big on Maddison. Obviously, we've already spent big on White, and if they do manage to get, I don't know, if they go for, I can't even pronounce it properly, but Oar from Leon, isn't it? If you get him as well, or whatever, then, or even Trippier, who we've been linked to, if they're going to spend big money like that, and he still can't get a tune out of the players, then then I don't think, if we start badly, then I don't think he'll see the season through. Although they all do seem to be very matey there, don't they? The kind of behind the scenes at Arsenal, not necessarily saying or doing the right things, but they all get on famously. So they might, and it's cheap, I would imagine, compared to most managers. And I feel like that's something that they would probably value more than actual ability at this point. But again, I don't want to be down on Arteta because I feel like there's definitely a good coach in there. How that translates into being a good manager and making all those calls, it's like the jury's still out on that one for me. But I think my top four would probably be fairly similar as most people's. I think especially if City sign Kane as well, that's it, done. I think, and I'm not the first or only person to have said that. They've just re-upped John Stones as well. Diaz was amazing last season, wasn't he? Walker's coming back off the back of bar the second game, sorry, first or second game. Really, he was really good in the Euros. I thought he really grew into the tournament, so he'll have a lot of confidence coming back. And Sterling obviously was fantastic throughout the tournament. They've added Grealish, who, him with. It'd be interesting to see him and Foden playing together. How Pep works that, because if Pep can get them both playing together and playing well, that can only be good for England as well. But yeah, there's just so much strength there. It's depressing. So I feel like they're for me they're going to win the league. Chelsea, I think, will definitely be stronger this season, and I would take them for second, ahead of United. Tuchel's a good manager. Abramovich is pretty much giving him what he wants, and that's the thing with Tuchel, isn't it? As long as he's getting what he wants out of the board and signing the players that he wants, he tends to be happy. It's when he doesn't get his own way is when he starts to boot off. So at the moment, I imagine that all seems to be fine. Quite similar to Conte in that way, isn't he? Always wants more money to sign players. So I think they're gonna kick on this season, or build off the back of that the Champions League win, and I think it'll be closer with City, but I think City are just going to have too much, I think. And actually, do you know what, Lukaku? I think what he was accused of quite a lot when he was here before was being a bit of a flat track bully, and only scoring against kind of like the smaller teams. But I think that's probably fine, because they've got enough in the squad and they've got enough big players there that in those big games, if he's not going to be the one scoring the goals, they've got a lot of good players there who can kind of shoulder that and pick up that responsibility. And who knows, maybe even Werner will chip in with a couple of goals this season. I think you'll see a lot more from Werner and Havertz as well, to be fair. Yes, that's the top two. Behind that, I think United will probably. I think it'll be United and then Liverpool in fourth. Liverpool. I think Liverpool will be closer to kind of like the pack behind, though. I think you'll have City and Chelsea pulling away a bit. United just behind them, but kind of safe in a third, and then Liverpool behind them, but probably with Leicester quite close behind them, unless we take Maddison, and then and then who knows. But yeah, that's my top four. I mean, Liverpool would be. I think Liverpool just be clinging on, to be honest, at this point. And I know, they're going to have Trent back and Van Dijk and everything, but all those players are a couple of seasons older now. They're not really refreshing the squad massively, and they're looking to renew all their contracts and stuff as well, aren't they? Firmino, Salah, and Sane and Van Dijk and everybody, apart from Henderson. So I think they'll probably end up being fourth, but I don't think they'll be anywhere near kind of what they have been in previous years, and we saw that sort of last year. They were trailing off, and that's just cycles, isn't it?
So again in 30 years.
Yeah, but if you look at Klopp, though, like he did 7 years at Dortmund, and the last one was real bad. And how long's he been at Liverpool now? 5 years. So who knows?
Your top four, just to confirm then, Liverpool in fourth, Manchester United third, Chelsea second, Manchester City first. Does that sound all right to you?
I'd rather it was Arsenal first, obviously, or at least in the top four, but I think that's for me, that feels realistic.
Callum Brown is here. He's one of our pundits for this season. He was last season. You'll recognise him there. Very passionate on referees, very passionate on Liverpool Football Club, as he is a supporter. So let's start with who you think is going to finish last.
So I think who's going to finish rock bottom is Norwich.
Norwich seems to be popular.
Yeah, I think because I know a lot of people have put Norwich bottom. I just think I don't know. It's they've got decent players, but I just don't think every time they've come up, they've just not looked great. They've gone back down straight away. They haven't really been able to invest that much. Because I had a quick look at what players he brought in and that. I just think out of the three promoted sides from last season from the Championship, I think they're definitely the most likely to go down, straight back down. So
Okay.
yeah, they're
So
bottom.
Norwich City, bottom of the Premier League. Who finishes 19th? Is it one of the teams that has come up from the Championship, or is it one of the teams from last season in the Premier League?
I'm going to Watford 19th. I still think Brentford will survive. So I think they've got a good set of players. I think score goals with Ivan Toney.
Who crucially also has Premier League experience.
Exactly. I'm going to put Burnley in 18th.
Ooh. Do you think the Burnley... Why is that? Do you think the Burnley second half of the season surge isn't going to happen this season?
I just think that they keep on just managing to get away with it each season. And I think they can't keep on getting lucky. I don't think. Like, they've always just about escaped for like the past number of seasons. And I think the luck's eventually going to run out.
They've punched the ticket too many times.
They just keep on. I mean, fair play. You keep the same amount of players. They're well trained players. They know what they're meant to do. It's because of the lack of investment, lack of depth. Like, apart from their starting 11, you've got no real options off the bench. I don't think they're relying on certain players to do really well, and they're relying on the defense to be as solid as ever. Which I'm not saying they can't be. Just saying that I just don't think it'll be enough. But I think I think it's a close one. I think for me there's like one or two teams like I'm gonna put like probably 16th, 17th, who could easily probably go to 18th as well. Swap with Burnley. I think it's like three. Yeah. So there's my bottom three. I think
that's locked in. Okay.
Yeah.
Just to before you confirm it, I'll just remind you: Norwich to finish bottom, Watford 19th, Burnley 18th. Are you happy with that?
Yeah.
The top four, then, those Champions League places. Who makes the top four? Who wins the Premier League? Who comes second, third, and fourth?
I think picking the teams is easy because there's the four best teams, and that's obviously my team: Liverpool, Man United, Man City, and Chelsea. The order is tough, very very tough. So obviously I want to be fair. I don't want to just put my team first because I think we're just better. So I actually think the other three teams have got a better squad than us now. I'm still gonna be confident. I think that if we can avoid the injuries last season, I'm gonna put us win the league again because I have to. I can't not. But I think it's going to be really tough, like really tough. Like a proper battle all the way through.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a last day of the season thing, I think, if we're going to do it. That means I'm then going to put Man City second, Man United third, and Chelsea fourth.
Ooh, controversial with the Chelsea one.
I mean, that could be. I mean, to be honest, that's me not even looking. I'm trying to think. Oh, well,
you could mix and match, yeah.
They're going to have Lukaku in. Obviously Man United with Sancho and Varane. Man City getting Grealish, potentially maybe getting Kane. I mean, if they had Kane in, I mean, Jesus, I don't even want to think of it. And it's also me based on the fact that I don't think we're going to sign anyone because I'm seeing no signs of it. So yeah, that's what I'm going with in top four.
So, just to confirm, Liverpool to win the Premier League,
Yeah.
City to finish second, Manchester United to finish third, and Chelsea to finish fourth.
Yeah, I have to go with my own team. I have to be. It's not going to be clean. It's not going to be easy. Not going to be walking it like we did last time. I think it's going to be. To be honest, it's going to be a battle between all four. So all four could easily win it.
Tom's here to do his Premier League predictions, his top four in relegation. I suppose I better do mine as well. We've heard Liam's and Callum's, so I'll let you pick. What would you like to do first? Is it relegation or the top four?
I would say let's do the top four first, only because I feel like we'll spend less time on that because we probably already know. We've probably got.
To be fair, with the two other people that have done it with, there's already a consensus of who is good, of the four teams that are in the top four.
I think we'll spend more time on the teams that are going down because I think there's a bit more of a plethora of them to choose from as opposed to teams getting into the top four.
Okay, so start with Premier League champions. Who do you think will Who's going to win the league?
I would say possibly a toss-up between Manchester City or Chelsea.
So, who do you think will edge that? For me, it's Chelsea.
I would say Chelsea as well. I mean, for all of City's strengths and the money they've spent in shoring up all those areas, they've spent a lot of money on Jack Grealish.
100 million, yeah.
They've, probably in response to the fact that Kevin De Bruyne is now, approaching the wrong side of 30. Which I think is, a lot of people forget, that a lot of these players age, so sometimes when you actually sit down and see the age of them, like when you see like players like Aubameyang are like 32, 33, things like that, people start to forget. The thing that personally for me edges Chelsea over Man City is the fact that City probably no longer have a recognised goal scoring striker within the team. They do have Gabriel Jesus, but he's still not the one to, despite repeated attempts, carry Manchester City forward the same way Sergio Aguero have done. I feel like they've invested wrongly there, whereas I feel like Chelsea have just gone from strength to strength, particularly with the news this evening.
Oh yes, Lukaku has joined. We kind of predicted that already, but Lukaku has joined Chelsea. What if Man City get Kane from Tottenham? Unlikely, I know, but
it's unlikely, particularly at this stage now, because it wouldn't leave much time for Tottenham to sign a replacement, and for the money they would want for him if they did sell him, they'd probably want to sign a top striker, which unfortunately there are not that many of them out there. Harry Kane's a homegrown product. He wasn't plucked out of thin air. The only other top striker in Europe is Erling Haaland.
The Tottenham ain't going to get him. So.
Yeah, so the only other player who could probably score the goals or exceed the goal totals that Harry Kane would provide for Tottenham would be Erling Haaland. So unless they can find some gemstone somewhere, I feel like now it's too late for Kane to go anywhere without Tottenham trying to find a replacement.
Chelsea first?
I'd say Chelsea first.
City second.
City second, and then I'd probably have...
Third for you?
Third, I would probably say Man United.
Okay.
Because, again, they've got good attacking talent with the addition of Jadon Sancho to go alongside Rashford. Martial didn't have a particularly good season last season, but, could be a resurgence for him. I think a lot of people forget as well that Edison Cavani's still there as well.
Yeah.
I think because
yeah.
So he's going to be scoring a load of important goals. They've shored up their defence as well. They've signed. I can't remember what his name is. Who did they sign a defender?
Yes, they did. They signed a new number 4, and I can't remember who is it. Let me Google that.
This is how much we know about football off camera.
Yeah, Google helps. Raphael
Varane. There you go.
From Real Madrid, because they're
so
selling at the moment.
Yeah, so that would be an interesting one to see how well Varane does. I think, that would be an interesting one to see develop. They've got a bit more of a superstar team now, Man United, than what they had previously.
Yeah. But they're going down a spot, in your opinion, because they finished second last season.
I would say they're going down a spot because they've spent, but not spent as well as some of the teams around them. I would say the team in the Premier League who's probably had the best transfer window so far is Chelsea. Fourth, I would say Leicester City.
Ooh, you're the first person that hasn't gone Liverpool in the top 4. So why do you think Leicester City are going to finish fourth?
I feel
over Liverpool and potentially Tottenham.
I mean, I can tell you why they'll finish above Arsenal.
Oh yeah, we don't need to go in that.
Yeah, so but as an Arsenal fan, I want to see my beloved red and whites do well. But you know, I live in the real world, and I know that is probably going to be a difficult thing. I'll be happy if they get top 6 just to get some European football back, but I personally don't see them there. Liverpool. The reason why I wouldn't say Liverpool is the fact that I feel like last season exposed a few chinks in the armor of Liverpool.
Yeah.
In the fact that teams realise that when they're not at their full strength or they don't have their desired first team squad out, it could be a bit tricky. I also feel like they haven't. I think letting Gigi Wijnaldum go and not signing an appropriate replacement was a bit of a mistake, because you've got Fabinho, who's obviously a deeper line midfielder. You've got Henderson, he's a leader, but him and James Milner, you know, they're approaching past peak.
Yeah.
So they haven't got a dynamo midfield. Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain spends too much time on the physio's table.
Yep.
You know, and you saw last season what happens when either Mane or Salah go off the boil. You know, they struggle to score goals. They struggle to keep goals out. You know, there'll be question marks raised, like, you know, will Virgil van Dijk be back at his peak after that injury, because it's been a long time out. And usually after injuries like that, people aren't usually the same, particularly with the type of injury that it was. So, you know, time will tell if he performs at that peak. So that's why I wouldn't go Liverpool, because I feel like they know now, a lot of teams know now where to expose Liverpool.
So, for clarification, Chelsea, Manchester City, Manchester United, Leicester City.
Yep, those are my predictions.
Those are locked in. I think. I guess. I suppose. I'm kind of the last. I've heard everybody else's opinion, so I guess I've got the benefit of listening to everybody else's opinion. I will also go Chelsea for Premier League champions, and the reason why is because there's no Aguero at Man City. Grealish is it's great being a big fish in a small pond, but now he's a slightly larger than average fish in quite a big pond. So Chelsea to finish top, especially with Lukaku up front. I think if he's used in the right way, I don't think he was used. If he's played in a certain way, he is the best. Is he a poacher?
Oh, he's
not really.
Not necessarily a poacher. I mean, if you look at some of his goals back from last season against Inter Milan, a lot of them were, you know, created by himself. He performs well when he's got people playing well around him. When he was at United, he didn't exactly have. I think the only player he probably had consistently playing around him that was, you know, delivering the balls for him was Rashford. But then back then, Rashford was still green. He was green. He was finding his feet. Whereas if you think about if Lukaku was still in that Manchester United squad now, being fed by someone like Bruno Fernandes, that would be quite a good pairing.
Sancho on the wing,
I mean, if you look at where he's gone to Chelsea now, you know, he's got people like he can play alongside Werner if he wanted to. He's got Hakim Ziyech, he's got Mason Mount, he's got Christian Pulisic, all these different players that can perform around him.
Watching the Euros, I was convinced he is the best in the world at what he does, but what he does I can't make out. If he plays like he did in the Euros for Belgium for Chelsea, then I predict they're going to win the league. Absolutely. Purely because Aguero is at Barcelona and not Man City, unless Manchester City sign Kane, in which case then my opinion might change. When the facts change, my opinion changes, but unless, I don't see it happening. So with that, I'm going to lock in Chelsea to win the Premier League. I think Man City are going to finish second.
Who's your option for third then? I think this is the tough bit. The bit that just props up the top two. The fourth one's a bit easier because you feel like, you know, okay, which team is just going to squeak in?
I know who's finished fourth. I know who's going to finish fourth, and based on who I think will finish fourth, I'm going to go with Manchester United to finish third.
Okay.
Based on who I think is going to finish fourth, and the team I think is going to finish fourth is Liverpool.
Okay.
Purely because I just don't see. Leicester are bottle jobs. They always get near enough, and then they just at the end of last season they lost 4-2 on the final day to Tottenham, so they shot themselves in the foot and let Chelsea in. So not that Liverpool should be complacent about Leicester, but I just don't think Leicester always seem to bottle it for some reason. I don't know what it is. but they won the FA Cup. They've won the Charity Shield. I'm sure they'll be happy with with it. Maybe they'll try and win the Carabao Cup this year or something like that. But, I just Liverpool for me just to finish. Liverpool, Manchester United third because they've got quality and they've got Sancho as well. So
Would you not argue though then, because Liverpool have quality, they have depth, they have good quality, but do they really have depth in that quality?
No, and I've talked to somebody about that, and they do need to get the checkbook out. Their owners don't seem likely to do that because of the pandemic, but whether we'd have a pandemic or not, I don't think they would have got the checkbook out anyway. No, because they aren't. They're not huge spenders. They probably spend more money than Kroenke will.
I would say Liverpool probably have more value. Probably more value in their players than they do in the actual bank. Because if you look at the prices that they bought, Salah, Mane, Firmino, players like that. You look at the prices they paid for them and what they'll be worth now.
Yeah.
The most expensive players in that squad are Alisson and Van Dijk. Traditionally, defenders and goalkeepers are cheaper than your further forward players. So if you look at the market value on them, they're probably riding high that wave in the fact that they've got cash value in quality and they've got the quality. So they probably don't see the need to strengthen unless one of them went. The only player.
If they get an injury at the back though, then that will destroy this. If it's Van Dijk again.
Yeah, I mean the only one player that they were talking about all transfer window, the only one player that could improve Liverpool beyond what they are at the moment is Mbappe, but that will cost money.
That won't happen. Mbappe will see Messi. Well, he's seen Messi come through the door and go, I don't need to go anywhere else. I can win the Champions League here. If we don't win, then to lock it in, Chelsea to win the Premier League, Manchester City to finish second, United to finish third, and Liverpool to edge it in fourth. I see Leicester finishing fifth. Do relegation prediction. Since you went first for the top four, I think I'll tackle the relegation.
By all means.
First, I think that's fair. Or I could just get you to do it and then just copy your.
No, you go ahead.
So, I think Norwich have to go down. I don't know whether they're going to finish bottom or not. I don't. Daniel Farke's, he's a good for. He's people impersonating him. That's he's good for that. His voice is
his
good,
voice does not match his face.
No.
Oh my God! When he stood there in the dugout and he's grimacing, he literally looks like he'd kill you with a burp. But then he opens his mouth and then he's like German David Beckham. Yeah, I think Norwich have found their place where they're probably going to be that flip flop. They're going to be that flip. Yeah, they're going to be that flip flop club between the two. Between the two leagues.
I'd say the new West Brom, but West Brom are currently yo-yoing between the Premier League and the Championship. So
again, but I think that again they're falling into the same trap. They didn't.
It's not their best player to
Villa. Emi Buendia. Yeah. They've signed this striker from Werder Bremen, Josh Sargent, I think it is.
They couldn't rely on
Pookie for goals.
Pookie.
Yeah,
he's already proven that he's a Championship striker at best. And,
and I think the difficulty is they may fall into the same trap they did last time they came into the Premier League, is that they got promoted, but then relying on the players that got them promoted to keep them in the Premier League. Sheffield United did that. Second season Blues. Sheffield United relied primarily on their promotion squad for the second season, and it all just fell apart. So I would say. Yeah, they are going to be that flip-flop club, I think.
Yeah.
Who've you got for second one?
Norwich to finish bottom of the Premier League, the 19th. I want him to do well, but I don't think he will. It's such a rebuilding job as Crystal Palace. Purely from a standpoint that it is such a rebuilding job, and I did say last season that I think if Frank Lampard took the job when he was the favourite, that they would still go down. It's how many players were released?
Quite a few. I think
number.
Mamadou Sakho went, Gary Cahill went.
Townsend's gone to Everton on a free, and there's quite a few players that have gone. I mean, they retained Benteke's services, I guess, but
I'll tell you what though, if I was Wilfred Zaha, I'd be fuming. I
mean, that's the thing that I like. He's still there, and he's arguably the best player outside the top 8 clubs.
The problem is that they enough? The thing is he wants to go play higher level football, but what happens there is that you can play for the club, but with Palace, you're guaranteed minutes every game.
Yeah.
If you're Wilfried Zaha, you are guaranteed minutes. If you try and break into a team, like he's always said he wanted to go to Arsenal, and Unai Emery's final season, Zaha was his preferred choice, but then went for Pepe. But then it's like you as soon as you go into those top 6 clubs, you need to prove yourself at the top 6 level. Otherwise, you're going to be bench warming.
Exactly. So I just don't think that.
It's like when Ousmane Dembele went to Barcelona.
Yeah.
You just happen to play in the same position as Messi. Good luck keeping him on the bench. You're
this season he doesn't have to worry about that.
Yeah. So.
I just don't think Zaha's. They're a one-man team, and that's it's a sorry thing to say, but for me,
I think
Palace to finish 19th and Patrick Vieira to probably be.
I wouldn't.
It's either him or Steve Bruce that's going to get the sack first, I reckon. I don't think his I will say this about Patrick Vieira. I don't think he'll have as bad a run as Frank de Boer.
Oh no,
because that was a disaster. And I think Patrick Vieira, not Frank Vieira, not Frank Lampard or Patrick Lampard. Hello, new manager. I think he'll have a better time of it than Frank de Boer, but it's a little bit too much too soon, too much change in too short amount of time.
Yeah.
So Norwich 20th, Crystal Palace 19th, 18th. See, I'd go for Watford because really, what have they? They haven't made it. I have not seen any transfer news regarding Watford.
They have made a couple of signings. I cannot remember who for the life of me they have signed. But...
Exactly. So I can't.
Yeah.
At least with Brentford, I know who they've bought in, and I think that team spirit and morale alone will keep Brentford in the league.
Yeah, I think Brentford will be riding on a high of getting into the Premier League.
They might do a Sheffield United of staying up one season and then completely shooting themselves.
Is that just a theme
season.
For teams that play in red and white stripes?
Maybe.
Yeah.
We'll find out. Maybe there's a conspiracy. Play the X-Files theme. You know what? I'm gonna go for Newcastle United to go down. Steve Bruce, I feel sorry for him because he was stuck at Hull when their owner didn't want to put any money in, and he quit. And then I think it was Mike Phelan took over, and now he's stuck at Newcastle with an owner that doesn't want to put any money in, that wants to sell. So Mike Ashley clearly will not sign anyone that he has to pay big money for. So by the law of averages. And that's my only justification for it. By the law of averages, it's Newcastle's time to go down. And that's all I can say, is that Steve Bruce will probably get fired. It probably won't be his fault.
Yeah.
It'll be down to the lack of money spent. Because who have they got? St. Maxima?
St. Maximan's their best player.
Yeah.
By a country mile.
Yeah. And
St. Maximan, they got players like Almiron, St. Maximan, Joe Linton. Willock looks like he's on his way.
Yeah, that's a good signing.
Willock, I would say Willock's goals probably, saved them from going down. I think he scored something like 8 in 8 games. He'd always scored the important goals.
Yeah.
But the problem with Newcastle is that they've had the exact same defenders since probably about 2017. They've invested in a lot of attacking players, but to be fair, with Newcastle, I wouldn't say they've had over the last couple of years, if you're looking at the averages again, they haven't had an issue, I would say, scoring the goals. They've had an issue keeping them out. And, that's no shade on Martin Dubravka, because I think he's a really good keeper. But it's the defenders in front of him, like your Fabian Schär, Jamal Lascelles. They still haven't stopped Matt Ritchie from stealing a paycheck, So...
I like Matt Ritchie. He's a Swindon Town legend. Hey, it's either Newcastle, Watford, or Burnley, but I'm going to go Newcastle.
Oh no, don't stick Burnley in that.
How
dare you paint Burnley with the same brush as Watford?
I mean, Burnley always struggle and then seem to somehow get their fingers out their arse in the second half of the season. And maybe that's down to. It's not down to luck. It is down to some skill, but maybe they've been gambling once too much at the casino, and that is the Premier League, and maybe they might head on down. But Norwich. Clarification: Norwich to finish bottom, Crystal Palace to finish 19th, and 18th is Newcastle United. That's my pick. There'll probably be some sort of forfeit where I'll get a baseball cap with Dick written on my head or something like that. So yeah, lovely. Your relegation picks?
I would say for 20th, I would say the same. Norwich. They, like I said earlier, I feel like they'll fall into the trap of not reinforcing their squad enough to survive in the Premier League for more than a season. Because they're again, like a lot of promoted clubs do, they rely a lot on the team that got them promoted to keep them there. Despite the fact of they do get a nice little bumper in money for going into the Premier League. So you'd think they'd be wise enough to spend it, but so I think Norwich for me going down. Timu Pukki can't supply all the goals. They have lost one of their major creative outlet. I think for probably less money than he's worth. They have brought this Josh Sargent in from Werder Bremen. How long it takes him to settle, I don't know. So we'll see how that goes. But for me, they'll finish bottom. They'll definitely win more games than Sheffield United did last season. So I think it'll be a closer race than it was because Sheffield were done by. They were done by.
I mean, both Sheffield. Well, Sheffield were done by February, March, and then. West Brom were done by April. April, late March, early April. So.
It was actually, I think it was the loss against Arsenal that sent them down, where they lost 4-1 at home. I think.
See, that's the thing about Arsenal. You guys are always inflicting misery on other teams.
I know. For
so long, it's just been misery for you guys.
Yeah,
usually a nice change of pace.
Yeah, usually we're inflicting misery on ourselves. So yeah, I'll second you on Norwich going down first, like bottom club. Second, I would say second team to go down, I would probably have Watford to go in 19th.
Okay.
Again, I feel like they're another team that they do have the ability to stay up. They have the team. They do have decent depth as well. But I feel, again, like Norwich, they haven't strengthened in a lot of areas. And plus, they do have quite an old team as well. I would say if they were to go down again, Ismaila Sarr will want to leave and go to a bigger Premier League club. I could see Ismaila Sarr being someone I could see him at Villa. I could see him at Villa filling in a role where Jack Grealish is left behind, or possibly even like Leeds United. So Watford would be 19th for me. In terms of 18th, now this is the tough one for me. But I feel like this one is possibly a dark horse. I'm going to say Brighton.
I get a feeling that's controversial, but I don't know why. Explain it to me.
So, with Brighton, they're a team, as we said earlier, they prided themselves on, not scoring goals, but keeping them out.
Yeah.
They had a solid defence. So you had Lewis Dunk, you had Ben White, you had Tariq Lamptey, you had Yves Bissouma as well. But then I feel like keeping the goals out, particularly this season, because I would say this transfer window we've probably seen quite a few attacking players move clubs. Yeah. Grealish, Sancho, Sargent, Lukaku. There's a lot of attacking threat floating about. So it will be difficult for teams who rely on defenders or counter-attacking, because Brighton, I've seen they play some quite nice football, but the real credit to them is their defending. Obviously they've sold Ben White, who was an integral part of that defence. Yves Bissouma as well. I struggle to see him staying with the club this transfer window. There's just so much floating about with him. He's a very, very good player. But then when you look at their attacking threats, you've got Neil Maupay, Danny Welbeck. I don't know if your Handbatch is still there. But you take my point, like Pascal Gross and things like that. No attacking players that really take the name by the scruff of the neck. So I think that's what Brighton are missing, is that they've got they've got star-studded defenders like Lewis Dunk had a good season. I can't remember that. Who's the big 6'6" blonde guy? Dan Burns, is it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. He's a good defender. Yves Bissouma as well. He's an anchor in midfield. But when they really want to take the game by the scruff of the neck, they don't really have any attacking players that can do that. You know, someone who, if you're on the counter-attack, knock the ball to him, take it past a few defenders and score. You know, they don't necessarily have that, I would say.
So, for clarification, take us through your bottom three again.
My bottom three will be 20th Norwich, 19th Watford, and 18th Brighton.
So to confirm all of our predictions, Liam Barry predicted that Norwich would finish bottom of the Premier League with Newcastle 19th, Crystal Palace 18th. Callum said Norwich would also finish bottom of the Premier League with Watford 19th and Burnley 18th. Thomas said Norwich to finish bottom, Watford 19th, Brighton 18th. And me, Danny, I said Norwich to finish bottom of the Premier League. Sorry, Norwich. 19th, Crystal Palace, and 18th, Newcastle United. And our top four, starting with myself, Danny, I said Chelsea would win the Premier League, Manchester City to finish second, Manchester United third, Liverpool fourth. Thomas said Chelsea will also win the league, Manchester City to finish second, Manchester United to finish third, and Leicester City to finish fourth. Callum, he decided that Liverpool will win the Premier League, finishing top of the league this season. Manchester City in second place, Manchester United third, and Chelsea fourth. And Liam's top four, finally. Manchester City will be champions, Chelsea second, Manchester United third, and Liverpool in fourth. Will we get these predictions right? We'll see in May. Thank you very much for watching this predictions video. Please subscribe if you like this video. We've got explainer videos and highlights from our live streams. And you can watch our live streams on twitch.tv/The Football Fans Show. And you can go take part in our polls at TFFS Live on Twitter. We will see you there.